Hello, everybody out there who listens to podcasts. This is Timmy Williams. I'm a comedian. At least I think I am, and some other people might think I am too. But some people may know, some people may not. But I'm also a big horror movie fan. And so this is Urn Full of Popcorn. And it is a horror movie podcast that's my friend Shandi Sullivan and I have started. And Shandi is, she's like a bigger deal than me, man. She was on, when she was on TV, her channel only had like 1 or 2 digits in the number. Whereas White is Kids, the show I was on, we were on channel like 508 or something. So anyway, Shandy's really awesome. But she and I have been friends for a long time, and we're both horror movie fans. And earlier this year, I was in New York City for a thing, and that's where she lives. And so I crashed with Shandi, but we were so busy we didn't get to really hang out at all. Except like the last night I was there, we hung out for maybe an hour, and all we did was talk about horror movies. So a few weeks later, I'm back home where I live in South Dakota, and Shandi calls me. She's like, "Hey, how come we don't have a horror movie podcast?" And I said, "We don't have a horror movie podcast because I'm too stupid and disorganized to do something like that." Well, Shandi is organized and smarter than me, and so here we go. We got one, so it's cool. This is Urn Full of Popcorn is the name, and we all we're going to do is pick a movie every time and talk about it. I don't really want any other rules or themes besides that, and sometimes it goes off the rails, sometimes it doesn't, but we always start with the intention of talking about a movie. So the first one is the 1981 summer camp slasher movie, The Burning. So that's this episode, and we're going to get into it right now, so I hope you enjoy it. Here is Urn Full of Popcorn, me and Shandi talking about The Burning. Enjoy.
Are you back?
Yeah.
Okay, I went to go pee too, because I was like, you know what? That's actually, I should do that too, because
good idea.
We'll start recording, and then, we'll start talking about stuff, and I'll be like, I have to pee.
Yeah, but if I have to poop, I'll just poop while we're talking. Just kidding. Okay. So,
what are you wearing?
Here's a starting point. How do you say it? Like when you're talking about a horror movie, how do you say horror?
Horror,
right?
Horror.
Right. And so, I mean, it sounds like horror like all the time, right? And I feel like people have probably talked about that before, but I always hear myself saying horror movies. Which, I mean, I watch horror movies too, but only about 45 seconds at a time.
I wanted to start with this because it's something I watched for the first time within the last year or so that I thought was incredible. And I don't give 5 stars to movies I haven't seen very often. But this one I did. I gave it 5 stars because while I was watching it, I started talking out loud to it. Which is something that I do to movies or television that I like. I'm like, I pause it and go, that was amazing. Like, that was incredible. This is amazing. I don't know why I haven't seen this before.
Yeah.
This movie did that for me.
That's great. And I felt the same way. I only saw it for the first time a year and a half ago, maybe.
Oh, yeah, so we probably saw it about the same time then.
I mean, I watched it in October of whatever year. I think it was 2022, yeah. And I, being a movie collector, I knew it was good. I knew that people loved it, and I bought it. I bought the Shout Factory Cool edition of it, and then I hadn't seen it, but I watched it. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I paid $20 for this, because I liked it. So,
well, I'd never heard of it. And then everything was great about it.
Yeah, it's great. And the thing is it's... on paper, on a synopsis, there's nothing unique about it. It's a camp slasher movie where there's where a bad choice comes back to haunt these kids. That's like 40 different movies use those. But what I like about The Burning is it uses like multiple horror movie impetus starters, whatever you want to say, because there's a camp thing, okay. but there's also like these kids fucked with someone in their past. He's coming back, and which happens in several horror movies. And then there's a burned guy, like Freddy Krueger. And so it's maybe not the most unique the way it starts, but the thing is the way it's made. I don't know. It's cooler, and it seems that it feels a lot different from a lot of movies. It feels like it's a little more serious than a lot of other horror movies. You know what I mean?
That this was the first horror film where the killer went for teenagers. That's what I read, but then I thought, well, isn't that what Friday the 13th did? But or the counselors, so those were adults. Okay. So this was the first movie that went to killing kids, basically.
Because they kill both. Cropsy, the guy, whatever, monster, and the burning kills both counselors and the children.
This movie is actually based on a real legend.
Is it really? See, yes. This is what I like. Is so you take notes and I take notes, and this is the only, I wanted to do no structure for this, right? And so my notes are all like, hey, I'm a funny little fuckface, Timmy Williams. And yours are probably like actual information.
Mine are, I have who directed it, who produced it, who did the special effects, which is Tom Savini.
Yep.
Did the special effects in this film. I got the composer, the cinematographer. I had to know who the cinematographer was for this.
Yeah, it's very well shot. It looks cool.
Yeah, it's the same guy that did The Witches and Cheech and Chong Still Smoking. So that's a fun fact for you.
That is and you know what? A lot of fun facts are not fun. That's fun.
That is a fun one.
So this dude's probably high a lot, but I think a cinematographer can be high as long as they know the general how to have the fucking camera on, the lights. So we both came across it recently, which is cool because a lot of horror movies like this that are not super well known, but they're old and they're good. Generally, a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, I saw that on TV when I was 8, and it stuck with me." But for you and I, we just kind of randomly came across it as adults, since we're both years old. So
42.
Oh yeah, you can say that because you're the youngster here. I'm 43. That's not the same fucking thing. But you know what I mean? So have you liked horror movies your whole life?
I have liked horror movies my whole life due to the fact that my father was into horror films and have 2 older sisters that were teenagers when I was a little kid, so I got babysat by them a lot, which meant they would have their friends over while they were babysitting us and made us watch the horror films from the during the time. So I was an 80s kid, so they made us sit in the living room with them and watch a lot of movies, and most of them were horror movies, and they thought it was funny when we would get scared. So there's that.
Well, they were right.
They were right. Thank you to my sisters for making me terrified of Freddy Krueger for my entire childhood.
But you should be, because he's a bad dude that came after little kids. So you should be afraid of a guy like that. You know what I mean?
It's scary that whatever happens to you in your dreams happens to you in real life, even though you're asleep. That's what terrified me.
You can learn important lessons like never fall asleep.
Yeah.
But so I never had that. I didn't grow up with people who liked horror movies. I just never watched them. And the only thing I ever got scared of as a kid was okay, so one of the movies I remember actually being scared of that actually scared me, made it so I couldn't sleep, I had nightmares about it. Well, I don't even know the name of this thing, but it was a made-for-TV movie on NBC. And you know how in the 80s and 90s, those are all based on real life events,
Yeah.
And so it was about some guy who lost it and kind of became some kind of cult dude. And he and his girlfriend or wife or whatever, they were both nuts, and they kidnapped, I think it was his sister's children. So they kidnapped his nephews and took them across country. And then there was a standoff eventually, and all the people, including the children, got shot and killed. And that really bothered me. I don't know what the movie was. We're talking about at least 32 some years ago. So I don't know. So that bothered me, but I never watched horror movies until, and people think I'm doing a bit when I say this, but I started watching horror movies when I went through a divorce.
So you were watching real life horror things happen when you were growing up.
Yeah, a little bit. This is what got to me. Because, like, I remember the things that horrified me, like, that I remember, like, when the Oklahoma City bombing happened, like, I went home from school. And that wasn't, it's not like I lived there, but it's just, that bothered me, you know?
Yeah. When Columbine happened?
Yeah, Columbine. I was in
thing.
high school. I was 18. Yeah.
Terrified.
And I think we went home that
I was like, thank gosh I'm graduating. That's what I thought.
So I can move to New York City where no one gets shot.
Exactly.
But so, and I'm not saying that I only started watching horror movies after I got divorced, because when you and I met, I had just seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the first time. But I generally didn't really get into horror movies until later. And I think one thing I like about horror movies is it's a healthy way to burn out fear and anxiety. And so, for example, when I got divorced and stuff and had a lot of dark thoughts, not necessarily about myself, just about, like, you know, it might have been about, like, you know, chopping people up. But so I watched horror movies instead to deal with that, instead of chopping anybody up.
Well, I'm glad you found a healthy outlet. Thank gosh.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what my daughter says when she's an adult, and how much she has to pay for therapy, if I made the right move or not. But anyways, so that's terrible. Anyways, but when you said I didn't watch, like, I saw horror movies because my dad watched them with me, I was like, oh, so this is what my daughter's going to sound like in like 30 years on her podcast. So
stay tuned for that. Yeah, but I am very grateful because it's become such a huge part of my life. I enjoy it so much. It's so entertaining. It deals with every human emotion. And like we just said, it's a wonderful outlet to become a fan of things that are horrific. A lot of times aren't necessarily real. Things that happen in life could, but the fantasy of it is really entertaining.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I'm glad I turned around. I think I used to just, like, ignore it, like I was, maybe I was even being fucking snooty about it. I don't know. But I just never really paid attention.
Snooty?
Maybe, but I'm not really snooty. Do you think I've ever been snooty about anything?
You've ever been snooty?
You don't think I've ever been snooty, like pretentious?
No.
Okay, good. One other great thing that I love about horror movies is just finding horror movies, because there's really good ones out there, even from 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever years ago, that are buried, and that now, like, you know, randomly you'll find on a streaming service, or like in my case, you know, I collect Blu-rays. I have a shitload of them, and all these little boutique companies will find these movies, you know, and put them out. And there's always new ones left to find, you know?
I mean, shit that happens in real life is already so freaking horrific in itself. I don't understand why something that is like actually made to be fictitious just for entertainment purposes is shunned upon when it's really not the worst thing that happens in the world.
No, it's so dumb. Well, for one example,
so dumb.
Like fascism. Okay, fascism is everywhere, and it's more prevalent now than it was maybe 20 years ago. But it's prevalent again. But okay, so it's a bummer to think about that, right? However, I could go watch They Live, which will present to me the problems with fascism and big government and stuff like that, without bumming me out, and still being entertaining, but it still, like, has those messages in it. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is I'm agreeing with you, where it's like horror movie, a lot of different genre movies, but horror movies especially are a great way of addressing shitty things in an entertaining way. And I don't know, we got on that giant off ramp because we were just talking about how we started watching horror movies. Since this is the first one of these that we're recording, and but we're starting with The Burning too, because it's something. Yeah, we both like it, and it's August right now as we record this, and it's a very August movie, right? It's a camp movie.
We can talk about whatever we want.
Well, yeah, of course we can. But you know, well, yeah,
it's our podcast.
Yeah, so. But the thing is if we put this out there and say today we talk about The Burning, well, we probably should at some point. You know what I mean?
You said you didn't know that this was an actual urban legend?
No, I don't. Did not.
Okay.
Nope.
So, a Staten Island haunting of a killer called Cropsey. And it was in the 70s. And it says, the legend talks about a man who kidnapped young children after he lost his own son. And the man was mentally unstable. And out of grief, he resorted to stealing the children of others as replacements. So it was kind of a lot of kids that grew up during that time would hear about, don't go out into the woods because Staten Island has areas that are still very underdeveloped and very woodsy, with lots of ruins. So, they would grow up and be like, don't go out into the woods by yourself because Cropsey's going to steal you. So that's kind of where it comes from. So it actually is based on kind of a true story.
But in the movie, he doesn't take any kids.
I mean, he kills kids.
He kills, but he kills like teens. He doesn't. You don't see him you don't see him replacing his family with stolen children, which in itself could be a great movie. So maybe there's room for the burning too. But that's crazy. I did not know that. It feels natural to me that once horror movies got really, really popular again in the late 70s and 80s, that it starts with all this camp stuff because that was where people had been hearing scary stories, like these people that are now, hey, I'm an adult, I'm going to make a movie. When they were a kid, they probably heard a scary story at camp at some point. I did. Did you ever go to summer camp?
I went to Bible camp, so I heard a lot of scary stories.
Yeah. That is a scary story.
But it is significant that you bring up that point of telling stories around a campfire. Because that is just... that's historical in itself, that people are always wanting to come together to hear about something that they know is going to scare them or just to scare someone else potentially.
Yeah.
And it happens in this film. It happens at the end of the film too, I think. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And I think a slasher movie works with a campfire thing because the campfire horror stories I remember would often rely on a jump scare or something very simple. The one I heard at Boy Scout camp one year, the thing that was actually scary about it was when the person telling would just start screaming for no reason.
Well, the thing I really like about this film in particular is it starts at the camp, but doesn't start at a campfire. It starts with kids planning to scare Cropsey, who is the camp caretaker. And apparently they're going to scare him because he's been beating up some of the kids in the camp for no reason and just being a total dick to everybody in camp. So they're like, we're like, screw this guy. We're going to scare him and fuck him up and he'll leave everybody alone, I guess is what their brilliant plan is.
Yeah.
But it escalates so fast.
Very quickly.
Like,
I'm not quite sure what the prank is.
So,
okay, they have a skull with worms
with
in
worms
it.
and candles in the eye sockets.
Oh, there's a candle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they just lay it next to him and while he's sleeping and they're like, we're going to yell and wake him up. He's going to see it. He's going to freak out. Like, that's the prank?
I guess. But here's the other thing, too. Children are stupid. And so that's probably as good as a prank's going to get. When my daughter was 4, she knew I was doing comedy or whatever. She's like, I wrote a joke. I'm like, what's your joke? And she was 4, okay? These children who do the bad prank and the burning are older. But my daughter was like, I know a joke. I'm like, what is it? She's like, a horse, and a horse, and a horse, and a zebra. That was the joke. So, what I'm saying is kids aren't good at this. Because a joke and a prank both rely on surprises, and they failed at both. So.
But holy shit. They wake him up, and the way they escalate the scene of the shot to him sleeping and the shot to the kids outside and then to him, and then he wakes up, sees the skull, freaks out, knocks it over. Now he's fully engulfed in flames. Apparently they took 2 seconds, and instead of trying to help him, they just stand there while he tumbles down a ravine. And instead of going, we should go get somebody to help, they just go, let's get out of here.
I can stay silent for 20 years. Well, and here's the thing, and I think a lot of good horror movies come off of situation everybody can relate to, but then the characters make one choice, I wouldn't do that, or they take something too far, or they make a choice you wouldn't make, or there's just one turnoff that suddenly, because that's what makes it awful and not like real life, right? So like the kid's ignoring the guy. Or let me ask you this question, because you know why he starts on fire so quickly, right? Did you notice that?
I noticed there were a bunch of gasoline cans conveniently,
and he had booze everywhere,
and
he had a bunch of liquor.
But he had gasoline cans.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you this: have you ever fallen asleep, drenched in enough booze to start a huge stunt-worthy fire, or have you ever fallen asleep that close to a can of gas?
Never.
I feel like we both have probably gotten close to falling asleep covered in enough booze, but I mean, I haven't really fallen asleep covered in booze before. Have you?
No, but I will say though, recently I've been watching Hoarders. Shout out to any Hoarders fans.
Oh my god!
There are people in the world, and there's millions of people that have hoarding disorder. Mm-hmm. They will have gasoline in gasoline cans, just like in Cropsy, just like Cropsy had in his little room. They will have them in their house. So if something catches on fire, they're going up just like he is.
Plus, they normally have a room full of diapers filled with old, rotting poop, which is going to be filled with methane and flammable.
Exactly.
Too.
So just going to go up like 2 seconds.
Every single one of them has that on Hoarders. They all have the fucking room full of Depends with old shit in it.
We could do a whole podcast on Hoarders too. Let me tell you.
I would prefer not to. My last girlfriend and I were both into horror movies. But like we both watch horror movies, and she would always tell me, she's like, I like fucked up shit. I'm like, I like fucked up shit too. Let's watch some fucked up shit together. And then one time, and it was a long distance thing, so we weren't in the same room very often together. But a couple times we watched Hoarders, and I was like, this is too far. Like I can't. Like, can we go back to watching? The Beyond, which is a very gory movie. I don't want to watch this woman stand there trying to convince someone that having 50 cats and no clean countertops in your entire house is fine. Maybe that goes back to what I was talking about earlier, how that kind of stuff is scarier to me than actual horror movies.
That's kind of why I brought it up, just to kind of go back to that.
Yeah, interesting.
Right?
So gas can.
So he's on fire.
Yeah.
The kids run away, and he's fully engulfed in flames, and he falls into the water, which saves him. So now we're in the hospital. Don't you always love in horror movies when the medical staff talks shit about the patient?
Yeah.
Because that happens in this.
Yeah, it's like the orderly's job in this movie seems to be to take the new doctor and scare him like if they're in prison. He's like, this is gonna be some fucked up shit. You're gonna like quit. Didn't he say like you're gonna stop? Like, I can't remember the exact lines.
You've never seen anything like this in your entire life. Yeah,
and like just so you know, for future reference, I can never remember lines very well. I don't know. It's probably due to one of my brain problems, but I just know. So I'm never gonna be able to quote things directly. But I just know that he was like, "Yeah, you should quit your job because this is fucked up."
Yeah, he calls him a monster and a freak. I'm like, you're supposed to be caring for these people, and this guy has, first-degree burns all over his entire body.
No, we're talking like third. Yeah,
third. Oh, that's
are the ones where it's worse as it goes up.
That's my dyslexia. I think of the one the other way. That's what my dyslexia
maybe we should change the name of the podcast to Our Minds Are Horrible. But anyways, just. Well, I'm sure that ADHD and dyslexia can get along. So anyways, but yeah, so burns go up, other things go down. Like I think first degree murder is worse than second or third. Right. Yes. But for burns, third is worse than second.
Third is the worst.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, but isn't that you're laying in the hospital bed and you're covered in burns because a bunch of kids
and some fucking guy
fire, and the people are supposed to
look at this fucking freak.
Oh, you gotta come see this man.
Yeah. And then after those guys are gone, he's like getting let out, and all the nurses and doctors are like, now don't be mad and take revenge.
When
they say that.
I wanted to punch them through the screen. How
it's so dumb.
Dare you? So was he in the hospital for a long time because of his burns, but then it says a week
remember.
later. So
it does say a week. Oh, was it a week later after he gets out and kills the hooker, or a week later after he gets out of the hospital?
I have
I think
no
it was.
idea.
I think it's, you know what, and this is there's people going to be listening to me like, well, I thought you don't know the movie. It's like, no, we don't know the movie. I mean, but we do, but we don't know everything about it. But so if I remember right, he's been in for a while. I think they say 80s. It's been months and months and months. Well, then he gets out and then he kills a hooker.
Okay,
and then
why is that in this movie? Why?
First of all,
I don't get it.
I got a few answers for you. First of all, Harvey Weinstein wrote it. Secondly,
that's all you have to say. Never mind. Never mind.
But think about it.
I get it.
In the late 70s, early 80s, you had Maniac, you had Nightmare, and a bunch of movies where dudes killed hookers, and so it was a popular thing to do. So I think that's part of it. And maybe it was trying to be like not sort of a red herring, but maybe not a red herring, but maybe a misdirect where it's like, oh, is this going to be a hooker killing movie? No. But also maybe just to show that he's like fucked up. But I don't know. It does feel a little out of place. However, I wrote down here, it's a really good love handle stab. Like he stabs the lady right in like the sides of her stomach, right? She has little love handles. And like, you know, like you said, Tom Savini, he's so good at this shit. And it really looks like because I have love handles. I have love hooks. I don't know. They're very big. Whatever's bigger than a handle. Anyways, so seeing that get stabbed, I was like, man, that really looks like getting stabbed on a love handle. You know, and I was like, so it's a good kill.
Put that down too. I wrote.
It's a little bit like what?
I wrote, I still don't get why we have the hooker killing scene after the doctors are wheeling him out in the wheelchair saying, don't take revenge out on the children from the camp.
Well, I guess he took their advice.
But then he goes out and he's like, I'm going to get a hooker and kill her. But I didn't. And then he decides, you know what? Now I got momentum. I'm going back to the camp.
So he tries to take the doctor's advice. He's like, okay, I'm not going to go kill kids. I'll go kill a woman. And then he's like, well, this is really great. I'm going to go kill some kids. So it didn't really last very long. There's something else that happens. I forget who says it because I just wrote down the line. I should have wrote down who says it. But I think it's the orderly or the doctor, but they're talking about eating. And one goes, I'll get a Big Mac overdone. And my question is, how do you overcook a Big Mac?
You overcook the patty, and so it's like hard.
I know, but it's like that's never gonna happen because it's all fucking like fake and programmed, like in a McDonald's, you know, like those people working in there.
Never gotten one that was a little burnt?
No.
Oh, I have.
But maybe I just live by a really good McDonald's. I live by the fancy McDonald's.
That's a great call to Cropsy's whole body being burned and overdone.
Well, maybe that's what it is. But also, maybe it's all tying in because you mentioned the people working behind the scenes, and there is a producer in this movie named Corky Burger. So it all kind of ties in.
It's amazing.
Then when we get to the camp and the kids are playing a sport, and one of the girls, once they start winning, goes, "Now we're cooking on gas." And I was like, "What? That's not the expression. It's now we're cooking with gas."
Oh, yeah, she did say it wrong.
Yeah, because that's why. Well, because after he kills a hooker, then we go to these kids playing softball or something, right? So yeah, and now we're cooking on gas. It's like, well, that's not what you say.
And Cropsy's watching, of course.
Right, but he had been cooked with gas on him. So
he was overdone.
He was overdone. He's a Big Mac. I don't know where I was going with that, but
he's a Big Mac.
And then right away, you know, we start meeting all the kid characters, all the actors and stuff. And, you know, you mentioned there's some people who ended up being famous in this. And I just have to say, like, even if I had never seen Seinfeld and didn't know anything about any of that, I still would have watched this movie and been like, that guy doesn't seem like he should be like a horny camp kid. Like Jason Alexander, I think he's great in this movie. He's really funny and stuff, but it's just, to me, it's a weird choice for like a horny camp kid.
Well, we'll get into this in a later scene where he is he's a hustler. He's the hustler of the kids in this movie, and that makes sense to me when we find that out.
Like, when you say hustle, what do you mean?
He's there to make money.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
He's there to make money off the counselors and the rest of the campers.
Well, what does he do to make money?
Well, he gives condoms.
Oh yeah. Well, he went and got
He
the supplies
brings
for them.
he
Yep.
brings condoms for Glazer.
I do think it's funny that, and this is way later in the movie, but whatever. The character whose name is Glazer also prematurely ejaculates. So he does love
Yeah,
the
and
glaze.
then he has to go get more condoms.
Oh
And condoms
yeah,
are not just a thing that are going to be in a camp.
no,
Somebody
and
from
that's when he's
outside's
out in
got
the
to bring them
woods.
in.
So Jason Alexander's character in this, which is Dave, right? He's Dave, I think. Anyway, so Dave is like Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption.
There you go.
He knows how to get things. Right? There we go. I went to Boy Scout camp a couple of times, and are there camp movies where it's a Boy Scout camp? Like, are there camp horror movies where it's a Boy Scout camp getting killed?
I am not aware that there are.
I don't know.
That
I know
or Girl
there's.
Scouts.
Yeah.
Because Girl Scouts I was in, and we would have these things called lock-ins. So that would be a really cool premise for a horror movie. Lock-ins would be when we would go to.
Oh, I've been to some of those too.
We go to like a gymnasium.
Yeah.
And they would lock you in for the whole night, and you would have games, and you would eat hot dogs, and everybody brought their sleeping bags, and everybody slept in the same. Everybody slept on the gymnasium floor. That would be really good premise for a movie.
I can even confirm that more, and I can't believe this is a memory that only pops up in my head once every 10 years or so. But when I was like 12 or 13, a friend of mine, his church had a lock-in, and yeah, like Shandi said, it's so you go in and they lock you in, and then you're there. But this was boys and girls, and plus we're all like teens or preteens. It's like, what the fuck? Church thinks this is a good idea. But anyway, so we're there, and so somebody, there's this one kid there, Eric. And I don't need to say his last name. I will say that his email address, I forget what the whatever it was, at Yahoo or Hotmail or whatever it was, but his email address that he picked when he was a kid was coolpunkrocker69. So
Wouldn't that be funny if he still had that email address?
I hope he does. But I think you can agree with me when I say, fuck that guy. Right? Because who's going to pick that? Like, you're clearly an idiot. But anyway, like, he didn't do it in a funny way. He did it, like, literally because he thought it was cool, which is like, how would you ever think that was cool? Anyway, so you picture that kind of guy, which means, yes, he did bring shaving cream on this, to this lock-in to be like, I have to shave.
Of course.
You know?
He's so cool.
Well, he brings shaving cream, so what do you think fucking happens to him? He wakes up covered in his own shaving cream.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Break the shit out of him. And then here's what else he does. He gets up, covered in shaving cream, doesn't say anything. This really happened, by the way. And I still can't believe it fucking happened. So he gets up, he walks, we were in the basement, he walks upstairs into the church kitchen or whatever, and comes back with a little tiny hatchet. A hatchet. And then a girl named Rachel, who is now like a really great theater mom in Aberdeen, South Dakota. Shout out to Rachel. She might be hearing this. She gets up. She was like the oldest one of us there. She gets up and she punches this kid in the eye. He drops the axe, runs outside. But as you mentioned, this is a what? A lock-in. So now he is locked out.
Wow.
And I don't even know if he had a shirt on. He just ran out.
So this kid almost murdered everybody.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah, and this is like so fucking close to a horror movie. And I haven't thought about this in a long time. Like, shit, I just remember this story. And so then we all finally, after that, obviously we can't sleep, but we eventually fall back asleep late, like 2 or 3 in the morning. Then we get woken up again, and it's someone that looks like this kid. And we're like, oh my God. Well, it's his sister. And she happened to have a short haircut just like him. So she's like, I'm his sister, and I just come to get his stuff.
No,
we're
she
like,
has the hatchet, and she's like, I'm going to avenge my brother. You threw him out.
And when I say come to get his stuff, I mean your head. But yeah. But so, dude, this kid, yeah. And I think, so you can make a horror movie like that and call it Cool Punk Rocker 69.
Hell yeah.
That's also the night that someone explained to me what a blowjob is.
Wow.
So it was a big, which apparently is about pleasuring a penis with your mouth. I don't know. I don't really remember.
I swear, you learn so much going to camp.
Yeah, especially inside of a fucking church.
Mm-hmm. You learn everything you need to know.
This camp seems particularly unfocused. Like, what are they? I think Sleepaway Camp is maybe more unfocused, but this
Sleepaway Camp is definitely more.
like, what is that
unfocused.
camp for? Besides, like, hey, we need all these kids to learn what these buff Italian American guys look like in mesh shirts, you know. But I guess the Burning has that too. But
This camp, at least in the Burning, they're playing sports. They're talking about going on an end of camp canoe trip. So we have a little structure at this camp. But I will say, in the Burning, when I noticed the music for the first time was during this scene when, of course, the ball goes too far out into the woods, and she's out there by herself, and this is when we first see the hedge clippers with the music, and it's such a great, like, I still jumped. I've seen this movie twice. I jumped both times, and it's when you notice they have the Vaseline trick on the lens.
Oh, yep.
Which mimics his impaired vision from the burns.
Yeah.
I noticed that the second
I
time
love that
around.
POV
I
stuff.
said, yeah. I said, why is it like that? And I went, oh, yeah. Because his eyes are probably all messed up from being all burned.
Well, then they show him, it's definitely.
The scar tissue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So immediately, the music and the editing gets it right away. So when I saw it for the first time, that scene, I got hooked and I went, this movie's going to be really good if it's going to be like this.
Yeah, it was cool the way they did it. There's some weirdly progressive moments in this movie. Especially when you consider it was written by a guy who was, if he wasn't at the time, he was about to be a serial rapist. But so first of all, there's a lot of the men in this movie are shitty to women, and you got the kid who creeps around, and so he's creeping on the girl in the shower.
Yeah, that's Alfred.
Alfred, there you go. So Alfred's creeping on, I forget the girl's name in the shower.
Alfred is creeping on Barb in the shower.
Is it Barb? Okay.
Yeah, and because I thought that was going to be the first kill, because we didn't have a kill with the girl with the softball. So I thought, and when you're saying that this has some good like lead ups.
Yeah.
Watching this again and taking notes, I kept starting to write, this is the first kill. And it wasn't.
And you're wrong.
And then it wasn't.
It actually takes a while. It really takes a while to get there, but you don't notice that it takes a while because the characters in this movie are good, and it's just fun to watch them be at camp. They do a good job of that. And in the shower scene, nobody gets killed, but if you watch with subtitles, the subtitles are perfectly placed to cover her nipples, so that'll kill your boner. But I noticed
and you know that's Alfred is Brian Backer, who you recognize him from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh yeah, he's in that too. That's right. Okay. Yeah, there's a few people like this, but so Alfred's like that, and so then other dudes are calling him out for it though later, being like, "You fucking creep" and stuff like that. And so I thought that was
great
interesting.
Here that I noticed too is that it's a great setup because they're like, "What are you doing? You pervert! Why are you staring at her in the shower?"
Mm-hmm.
And he just says, "I'm just trying to scare her," which is a callback to the kids in the beginning saying they just wanted to scare Cropsy.
Right. They really. I feel like this movie goes in sections where they're trying to make you think it's this guy, and then they're trying to make you think it's this person. And at that point,
makes such entertaining. It's an entertaining watch when it's like that because you're like, I know who it is.
And not to spoil, I don't know why you'd be listening to this if you haven't seen it, but what's cool about this movie is that the red herring is that there is no red herring. It's exactly who they make you think it's going to be right away.
Yep.
You know, there's never a twist. The weird twist thing is towards the end when you find out that one of the heroes, camp counselor guys, is one of the shitty kids from the beginning.
Yep.
But besides that, there's not really a twist. But so there's all these girls on this floating raft thing in the lake, and they're chewing out glazer. One of them is like a big curvy girl. And in an 80s summer camp movie, you generally think what? Oh, they're going to make fun of this girl.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't. They
Nope.
don't say shit to her. Nobody mentions it at all. She's just one of the gang. And when Glazer gets up there to try and hit on Sally or whatever, she pushes him in.
I know. I
And
love
so they're
that
all like,
scene.
yeah, you got him. Good job. Yeah.
I love
and then the boys.
Yeah, I love that they're not just like, oh, he's like the, you know, he would normally would be like the hot counselor that all the girls would be like oogling and eyeing for, but they're like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
It was great.
And I think that's more realistic. I think girls, especially like this teenage, they're going to be horny just like the guys, but also like they're not necessarily going to camp to fuck a bunch of dudes. They want to like hang out with girls and have a good time. And so, you know, girls can tend to like back each other up a little more easily, I think, than boys do sometimes. And so they'll be like, yeah, fuck this guy. Let's push him in. Yeah, she pushed him in. All right, good for you.
Well, also, he just pushed a kid into the water that couldn't fucking swim. Like, what a douchebag.
Yeah, totally. And so then the boys have their revenge too, right there, because they start shooting. What do they shoot? Rubber bands at him? What are they shooting at him?
They have a pea shooter that looks like a real fucking gun. You know, okay, this kind of goes to my next note that I had where I was like, camp looked fun then because in the next scene is like they're smoking, they're drinking, they're playing cards. Yeah. They're looking at Hustler.
Everyone's got Playboy.
And Playboys. And I'm like, shit, I could not wait to go to this camp. Like, I would be so excited. And my parents are like, you're going to camp. I'm like, hell yeah. Yeah. And right after this, we have, which is, I think, quintessential in most horror movies, is having a good scare of a bird flying out of something, which Todd opens a porta potty and a bird. Oh,
I don't remember that part. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a tiny little jump scare, and it got me the second time. It didn't get me the first time, and it was noteworthy. Yeah. So I thought I'd mention it because it happens a lot in horror movies where
it does. It's either a bird or a cat.
Bird or a cat.
Yep.
You gotta have it. You gotta have it.
And they did it.
And now this is when they go to the canoe trip to it's perfectly named Devil's Creek. Ooh. Is where they're going. Of course, that's where they're going. Devil's Creek.
And again, not the most focused camp. They seem to be going up there to just then split up and fuck each other. Right? I mean, I think.
Well,
I don't really know.
I think two of the girls like the guys, but they keep feeling pressured by both of them. Yeah. And like they want to do the things with them, but they don't like how they're being completely pressured into it. And we'll get into that because I got notes about that.
I'm sure. And I side with the girls on that because the first kill that happens on the island is, well, the first couple that gets killed, but like that Eddie, is that Eddie, right? Eddie is the...
Oh, we're going to get to Eddie.
Well, I think we're at Eddie.
Oh no, we're not at Eddie yet.
Okay,
because
what are we at?
We're at almost 2 kills, right? Because we had the girl in the shower that we thought, right?
But she didn't get killed.
No. Okay. But then Fisher Stevens' character forgets his vitamin E to dinner. His name's Woodstock. That's his name.
Yeah. Woodstock goes into the thing and the lights go out. Yeah, okay. Yep.
Yeah. Did you know that he dated Michelle Pfeiffer from 89 to 92?
Fisher Stevens?
I did not know that. Yes.
Way to go, Fishman.
So now they're going down the canoe trip. Did you laugh when the hillbilly music starts at the canoe trip?
Because you know what that means. So somebody saw Deliverance.
I was like, so the note that I made, besides that the music cracked me up, I was like, not one camper is wearing a life jacket. And does this camp not care about safety at all?
Hey man, out here it's like why are you wearing a helmet on your motorcycle? Because it's very easy to get fucking killed. Well, bug pussy, so people like that. People are like that out here.
I was like, this camp has no safety protocol, so that's great. And now we bring it back to the Cropsey store time around the fire.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
With Todd.
And what's really funny is Todd says that Cropsey was the kid that he bothered, because in the beginning they say like Cropsey beat up one of the campers and that's why they're doing this. So Todd says the kid he bothered was the wrong guy because he was from Brooklyn.
Oh my God, he does say that. Yeah. What?
Does say that, and I was cracking up. I was like, Oh, geez. But they have somebody dressed up as Cropsy with a Cropsy mask and the knife. And I thought that was really great. I was like, that would scare the shit out of me. I would have pissed
Yeah,
my
man.
pants if I was in
It was a good.
that campfire
Well, that's
circle.
what camps are supposed to do. That's great.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
So then we get more boobies after this, and we get Bush
yeah.
after this. Because this is the skinny dipping scene where
Yes.
we can now talk about Eddie, who's a real piece of shit.
So Eddie's the worst guy in the movie, right?
Yes.
Because I mean, okay, Alfred is a creep, but also, well, he doesn't actually assault anybody, but he is a creep, peeping on people, and it also seems like he's got things in his life that led him to develop this problem. And then you got Glazer, who's just a kind of fucking moron. But Eddie is like deliberately scuzzbag, a sex pest,
The thing of like, I know you wanna, why aren't you? And then
gaslighting.
Yeah, he's really bad. He's a winner at that. The fact that like she obviously likes him, and she makes a comment earlier in the movie that she likes him, but she doesn't like how aggressive he is.
Right.
And she tells him how she doesn't like how aggressive he is, but he doesn't listen.
Right. And he's basically like, you do like it.
Yeah, and she's like, no, stop. And he's like, well, then why'd you fucking come out here then, like, naked in the lake with me? And it's like, well, because I like you, but I told you, like, fucking chill out, bro. And you didn't listen, so now I don't want anything to do with you. And he's like, calls her a fucking bitch and shit. And I'm just like, I was like, please let him be the first kill. Please kill him. He's not. I was like, what the fuck?
And I'm not trying to be cool or what did the kids call it, virtue signal or anything, but I literally do not remember being this horny as a teenager. Were you that horny as a teenager?
No, I was not horny until I was in my 20s.
Yeah, I don't think I really was either. I definitely played with myself because it's right there. What are you going to do? But I had a room with a door that closed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember hearing about kids in middle school that were like having sex, and I was like,
yeah,
I could not wrap my head around that at all. What that
I was like, why the fuck would you do that?
Meant, how that was happening.
Yeah, I don't even know how you did it.
But we did have a kid that was held back from high school that was in the 8th grade. So it was this whole thing of, well, the older guys getting with one of the younger girls type of thing and showing her the ropes. It was ew and gross. And I said, I don't have anything to do with that.
Which is the correct response.
So
yeah.
Another way that Eddie is shitty is that he just goes back to camp. He doesn't look for her. He doesn't look for Karen after she leaves. He just goes back and goes to sleep. Like, what a prick.
And like he's literally like, because I just figured she ran off because she won't fuck me. It's like, oh my God.
Such a baby.
Like, he's such a fucking baby about it. God, if you're going to be that way about it, go run for president. He's just a dick. But yeah, so, and how does he get killed? He gets killed pretty good.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that. That doesn't happen yet.
That doesn't happen yet. Who gets killed next?
So, this is when they find out that all the canoes are gone.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's right.
So they wake up, they can't find Karen, and they're like, where the fuck is Karen? Eddie's like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah. She wouldn't have sex with me, so why should I care about her well-being?
She ran off, blah, blah, blah. So they're like, well, fuck, how the hell are we going to get back? So this is, we didn't talk about this before. I kind of talked about it a little bit about how Karen had talked to her friends that like Eddie was being aggressive. So Karen was told that if things got too heavy with Eddie, that she could go back to camp.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. So this is where it's just, there's always a reason for something.
Yeah.
No matter how bad something happens to people in horror movies, there's always an explanation. There's always some rationality that they come up with where they're like, this is really bad that all the canoes are gone, but it's probably because Karen, she just accidentally let them all go when she took one back to go to camp because of Eddie. And I went, Nobody thinks this is wrong. But then Todd, my handsome Todd, goes,
Yes.
that doesn't make any sense. We need to, we're going to make a raft.
Yeah. And when Michelle asks him, how do you know how to make a raft? What does he say?
I forget what he says.
I learned how to do it in Boy Scout camp. Now, I've been to Boy Scout camp. There was not a fucking raft class.
See how just weirdly our minds bring things together?
Yeah, it works.
It just works.
It's going to be a good podcast. Maybe. It's not for us to decide.
Well, but also because this is how intertwined horror movies and themes of horror movies are in our lives.
Mhm.
Is we can relate to them a
Well,
lot.
In every life.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think.
Everyone can. But yeah, I was like, she let go of them accidentally. Shut the hell up. If I was there, I would have been like, you shut the hell up. Do you know how dumb you sound? Why? She would take one canoe. She would take one. Why would she take them all? Oh,
that's some misogynistic bullshit too. Like,
bullshit.
Oh, she's a girl. She probably fucked up and lost all the canoes. What?
What is this?
Just because girls do that.
What is this note that I wrote? I wrote, seriously, these dudes are like, we said you were nice and totally expect ass in return, even when they fucking say no. Yuckaroony. That's what I wrote. Camper kill number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are about to happen.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite.
This is when it's like, well, this is why I think this is why people like this movie now, and why
I like it.
Well, yeah, and me too. And I think it's because it's a little different. There hasn't been a lot of kills at this point, and then suddenly, holy shit, he just kills all these kids at once, which does not happen very often in movies like this.
Yeah. So Todd's idea of making a raft works, and we have 5 of the campers get on the raft to go down the river, and Eddie, thankfully, is one of them. So they're rowing, they're tired, and they're like, oh shit, that's one of our canoes. Holy shit, we got to get up to it. So they get up to it, and out pops Cropsy, and he's like cutting fingers off, and then he cuts fucking Eddie's neck open. There's a forehead slice. The forehead
is awesome too, because it's like
you don't see that. Awesome. Oh, you don't see that, and then just like you said, you don't see that many happen all at once. So I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is happening? And then I made this comment to you before where I said, damn, Cropsy is one patient motherfucker.
How long was he in there?
So he made all those canoes go away, and he sat in one, hoping that would be the one. Well, he probably just like, this is what I'm thinking in my head if this was a real thing, is that he would have taken all but one canoe up on shore somewhere out of view, and he just had the one canoe, so that would be the only canoe that they would row upon. But how damn long was he sitting in there? He's covered black head to toe in all black in the sun. Oh, and just how does he know they're going to make a raft? How does he know?
He's already covered in burns, so he doesn't care about sunburn.
I appreciated that immediately. There's an awesome cut screen to just all red.
Yeah, very cool.
And that's the first time it happens in this movie. It happens again.
Yeah.
But that's the first time it happens, and it's because of all the bloodshed.
Yeah.
Because there's 5
He killed
campers.
5 people right there?
Well, he's killed 6 so far, but he killed 5 all at once.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then my next note is lots of ass in this movie.
When was the ass?
So, this is when we cut back to Glazer and Sally making out. Yeah, this is them doing it.
Now
this is them doing it.
I don't know where I rate, and I don't know what it looks like from the woman's point of view, but when I see Glazer laying on top of her, it does not look like he's very good at this.
Yeah, and she makes a horrible comment where I'm just like, I feel so bad for him in that moment.
What'd she say?
She goes, "That's all."
Oh yeah, it's because he jizzes too soon, right?
Yeah, but then there's actually this like really sweet moment between the two of them that I was not expecting, where he seems a little ashamed, and she makes that rude comment, but then she goes, "Well, why don't we just like hang out for a little bit, and maybe we'll try, kind of insinuating they'll try again." He's like, "Oh, really? You serious?"
Yeah.
And you kind of see that they actually like each other, and that this whole thing between them is kind of okay.
Yeah.
I was shocked by that, but it was really nice.
Complicated.
It's complicated.
But that's how people really are, you know? I mean, it's not just, they're not just one kind of thing. I mean, Eddie's a piece of shit who only thinks with a dick. Fuck him. I'm glad he's dead. But like Glazer, for example, yeah, he's not 100% bad. He's just he's just like this big idiot. And, we all went to high school with guys like that. Yep. And that's how they are. Some, on the outside, big idiots. But, some of those big idiots from high school I've ended up becoming friends with or whatever. And they are good guys. They're just also big idiots. Other great slasher movies like Friday the 13th Part 4. Those characters are still kind of one note. I mean, I love that movie. It's fantastic. But it's like, okay, here's the horny guy. Here's the bad girl. Here's the hero guy. Here's the Crispin Glover guy, I've
also hated Glazer up to this point. And then now all of a sudden I go, shit, okay, he's just kind of putting on a front, trying to be,
Glazer's got problems just like everybody,
Poor Glazer finds Sally.
Yeah.
Has succumbed.
Yeah, and she gets killed real good. She gets stabbed in the throat,
She gets killed real good. But this is when he runs back to camp. He finds Todd, and he's like, Todd, something's fucked up going on. And Todd's like, I'll follow you. And they get back, and Todd gets clipped in the cheek by Crosby and gets knocked out.
You just said Crosby instead of Cropsy, and that's what made me think, what if...
Did I say Crosby?
Which is okay. But what I was thinking was, what if there's a movie where they're being hunted by David Crosby?
But what's really funny is because of my dyslexia, I'll change letters sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay. I just that just gave me that fun thought.
Yeah.
If we had a subtitle for every episode, this one would be called Crosby Kills and Camp. Crosby Kills and Slash. There you go. Crosby Kills and Slash. They're perfect. Perfect. Cropsy Kills and Slash. Did it. Done. Now we're going to make $1 million. Woo! So at this time, when Todd's getting knocked out or whatever, and Alfred takes off, he's running around because it's one of those dumb horror movie things where it's like, don't run away because they'll think you did it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dude, stay put. This is one of the things that makes the movie different, because I think that awesome multi-kill earlier where he kills all the kids on the raft and stuff is great. But then this is obviously there's always a point, especially in a slasher movie towards the end, where now everybody's traumatized.
Yeah.
But this, it's a big group of people, and not even everybody gets to do anything, but they're all there. It's so often a slasher movie, especially, but horror movies in general, focus on, here's a couple of people, by the end of the movie, you're focusing on a couple of people that are going to be doing something. And then generally everybody else is dead, and that's all you got. But in this, there's been a lot of people killed, but there's still all these kids.
And they're no way of getting out. Which is also terrifying.
Yeah, and they're just oh my God, I'm just on this summer camp and people are getting fucking murdered. And also they don't even do it. Jason Alexander, he helps them get in the canoe and get back to camp, but he lives and he doesn't really do that much, And so it's interesting because it's to me, it's more realistic. There's going to be more people around who don't do much, but will still have to go to therapy,
And they have no idea what is going on. They have no idea.
Yeah, they don't know.
That this guy's running around killing people. Only Todd and Alfred know. And they don't know where they are either. So it's just, they're just fuck.
Yeah, they don't know what's going on. They know it's a guy. That's it, right? And I guess they know it's
they know that either. They have no idea what's going on. Because when they get back on the raft, they're all crying. She's like, stop crying. That's not going to help. It's it's terrifying.
Yeah, and then Fisher Stevens' dead head floats up. And she's like the swimming. Oh
Oh,
my
it's
god!
so good.
So that's when so they're on shore. Okay, yeah. So they're on shore and they're freaking out about the dead people. Todd has woke up and he comes back, right? And so that's when he and Michelle are
Yeah.
like, okay, we're the grown ups. So he's like, get the kids back to camp. I'm gonna go confirm my masculinity by running through the woods with an axe for hopefully doing something
Yeah,
good,
and then we get another cut screen of the screen being red again, which was cool.
Yeah. That's when she's swimming and Fisher Stevens
Yeah.
floats up, right? Yeah. And then she's like goes to red. That's so cool. It's like random, and I mean when you think about it, it doesn't really make sense, but that's fine. Like it's just a stylistic thing,
Mhm.
right? And it's so cool
Yeah,
that
I
they
like
do
that
it.
a lot. I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I could see other movies benefiting from that sort of thing, because it also kind of gives like almost a chapter break. Like, okay, now we're in Act 3. Now or kind of even further than that, but now we're in like the climax, the end, whatever. We're just like shit's totally in the fan and being flung out of the fan at this point.
It kind of reminds me of a game over screen too, of like,
Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
playing the Friday 13th game and it's like all the campers are dead
Well,
kind of thing.
I've never played it. So screens like that are inspired by the original Resident Evil games. Did you ever
Oh,
play those?
those games escaped
Like the
me.
first one?
I'd never played those.
Okay. So when you get killed, you like fall down bloody because a zombie
Cool.
killed you or whatever, and then it goes it's like a camera zooms out into the air above your dead character, black screen, and that says in bloody red letters, "You're dead." Or no, I think it says "You died." It's one of those, but "You
That's
died" is funnier to me. But "You died," and so it's kind of like that, like this transition, like oh no, It'd be funny if the movie did that, like bloody red letters come up like Fisher Stevens died. But naming the actor,
5 campers dead.
these kids got fucked up. Thank you, movie. But anyways, so this part is so great. Like, yeah, she's freaking out, and
So
so then
good.
it fades to red, and so then we got Todd. I can't remember the order of everything, but I think for a while you see Alfred like running around in the woods, and yeah, then there's these
Uh-huh.
ruins of whatever that is, and there's that one awesome shot where he's like standing against the wall, and Cropsy's standing like a foot above him, right? Like right there.
Yes. Yeah, I'm like, "Oh, drop him, drop the shears. Drop the shears."
Just right through his little pervy eyes. Just yeah.
That's why it's so great. Running from a psycho serial killer is getting those opportunities where you think the kill's gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's what makes this movie great, is you keep thinking a kill's gonna happen and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And then we least expect it, it happens.
Yeah. And
It's good horror cinema.
well, yeah, and for again, not worried about spoilers if you're listening to this. Like, oh, come on. There's actually at this point there are no more kills that are going to happen, but like you said, you don't know that, and so it's still like still freaking out.
You don't know.
Yeah, it's awesome. And shots like that, like the one with Alfred standing there and Cropsy's right above him, that's like why like horror movies, like even the low budget ones, why it works. That's just being clever. Like it doesn't cost any money to figure that out. You know what I mean? And or like, have you ever seen Alligator?
No, I
Oh,
haven't.
it's so good. Oh, dude, well, we'll put it on the list. It's so great. But I just rewatched it not that long ago. It's a fun, goofy ass monster movie, but they have a really good looking fake alligator. And so there's this great shot towards the beginning where the two of the cop kind of guys are in the sewers trying to figure out what's happening. They don't know it's a gator yet. And so they're standing there in the sewer, and one of them is fiddling with his flashlight, and it like as he gets it turned back on, it shines back up onto him. Well, it also illuminates the wall behind him, and happens to be a hole in the wall, and the gator is right behind them. You just see his snout because it's a big alligator, and so and it's like, oh shit, they have no idea, and then the light goes back off, and so it's only like a second. It's so good. And like, now in that case, they already had paid for this gator creature, but that's such a good shot that they didn't need, that's just being clever. Just like in this, like Cropsy's right there, and this idiot has no idea. I think Alfred only is interested if something's around him, if it's people having sex that he can watch.
Well, the great thing about this movie too, when you talk about the low budget stuff, is that we haven't seen really how burned and disfigured Cropsy is at all, except for you got that little glimpse of him looking into the boys' camp area where they're all, what do you call that? Yeah, their little cabin where they're at, where Alfred saw his reflection. So we still don't even know. We've just seen his hands basically and his legs and his feet.
Yeah.
Which you don't need to see. It's still terrifying.
No. Well, and I think that kind of idea, it probably existed for a long time, but I think Jaws helped that, because in Jaws, they didn't like how the shark looked. So they held on to it so that you only see a little bit here and there for most of the movie. And it's so good that way that it kind of changed how you scare people in movies,
The mind makes shit more terrifying than actually seeing something.
Absolutely. It's the fear of the unknown. And I feel the same way about like when people demand origin stories in movies, like, oh, why we need to know more about that guy. No, we don't.
No, we don't.
And that's what's cool about like this movie. It explains what's happening to Cropsy, but it doesn't explain that much. I mean, we don't really, like you said a little bit ago, like we don't really understand his like killing plan here.
Not at all.
He just wants to fucking kill people. He's not just going after the guys that did it. He's not going after this or that. He clearly has a problem with women, but we never saw that be established. But I think it's safe to assume he's a man in a movie written by, the devil. Like, he's gonna hate women. But anyways, so all right.
Yeah, he didn't go back to like get the people or the people's kids that did this to him. He's just, I'm gonna go back he's gonna go back to what he knows, which is this camp and the campgrounds.
Right, and that's it.
Yeah.
And there's something else, but it's part of the reveal that is happening in a little bit here. So I'll have a rare moment of holding myself back, whatever the word is, and wait, patience. Anyways, but so then we got Alfred, and then we're also cutting between that. We're cutting to the crying woman and kids in the canoe or in the raft going home, and that's just shots to show that these kids are
going back to camp.
Going back to camp, yeah. And that's just, I mean, those shots are really just showing, I think, obviously you need to know that they're going back, but also it's like, I think the main point of those shots is like, look how sad these kids are. Look how much this fucked up these people.
Yeah, they're traumatized forever now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I would be. I mean, shit. And I like that. It's that realistic kind of feeling. And then it cuts between that, so the lady and the kids, Alfred, and then Todd running with his shirt open, with his wood axe through the woods. And at this point, I still think, even both times I watch it, because I forgot, I still thought maybe he was the killer, or had something to do with it. Todd, because like, I don't know.
Todd was?
Sure. It's a perfect setup to have like the handsome hero guy end up being the one. And, there's a few logical holes in that theory, because he's like at this place or that place when the kills happen. Okay, fine. But like there, there are kind of some good seeds planted to trick you, and a little red herring thing. And so I still wasn't quite sure what was happening. And then they get to this ruins, and let's talk about that. What the hell are these ruins of?
Oh, the ruins. So
yeah, what is that?
Yeah, I think I looked that up to find out where they filmed this. Mm-hmm. And it was filmed at a camp called Camp Blackfoot in Ransomville, New York. And it's a Stonehaven nature preserve. That's what all that is. They're just preserved stones.
Oh, interesting.
I guess. Yeah, so whoever did the scouting location for this movie did an incredible job, because it's badass looking. I guess it's an old mine shaft too, or they make it look like that.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
Cropsy has taken Alfred at this point and has dragged him through the creepy ass metal door. And that's part of the legend, is that he was stealing children. So this goes right back to the legend of him stealing children.
Okay, yeah, because I, earlier I was like, well, he doesn't steal anybody, but you're right, he does steal Alfred.
Mm-hmm. He steals Alfred, which is awesome because he drags him through that creepy ass metal door, which reminds me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, by the way, just by the way that it looked,
definitely.
and the way that he shuts it.
Mm-hmm. Like turns around and slams it shut. Yeah.
Yeah. And he holds him in place by putting the shears on his, like, around his arm, which was really cool. I was like, that's badass.
That's freaky. Yeah, for sure. I would be crying. So
I would be crying.
Because Shandi, you know me in real life. You've known me for a long time. You know how much I care about my biceps and my muscles. So if he had that there, I'd be like, my beautiful muscles. Because I talk about my muscles all the time, right? Anyway.
No, bro, don't cut my muscly arm off.
Yeah, you could ask Shandi. She's like, God, Timmy talks about his fucking gym routine constantly.
Again? Ugh.
Again, yes, your body's a temple. Shut the fuck up. But no, I thought he was gonna do something. Now, so he steals a kid, and it's okay. That's from the legend. Okay, cool. That makes sense. I'm glad you told me that. Now, my next question would be, why does he leave him alive? Do you think he's gonna kill him later?
I'm wondering if he realized that Todd was coming for him and he's using him as bait. That's what I thought.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah, I think that's it.
And he's just going to kill them both, because now all of a sudden Cropsy has a damn flamethrower. Where he got that from?
That's right. Could it be a groundskeeping tool?
But it's appropriate.
It is.
It's appropriate that he has it, because how did he become disfigured?
Yes. Okay. If you're a listener and you work in the landscaping industry or grounds crew industry or maintenance industry, let us know. But I think that sometimes when they have a large amount of green space to manage, like a park or a forest or whatever, like this, that they do have that for like getting back brush, dead brush. So maybe I'm just trying to help the movie out here.
As a caretaker, he would have that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So sure, let's go with that.
Well, I was just like, he's like, you know what? I'm going to kill these last couple people the same way that I was almost murdered. That's what I thought. But
right. Well, no, and I think you're right. I think they care more about that than explaining where the flamethrower came from. Because, like I said a little bit ago, who cares? As long as you make it make sense in your movie, then I don't care. But yes, it is
as long as it makes sense.
Yeah, but it's thematic, is what. Thematic.
But you know what I love about this?
What?
What I really love about the scene of him with the flamethrower is that he starts getting closer. His face starts getting closer to the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of having a flashback moment where it's a throwback to the kids scaring him, which was great.
Yeah. It makes it weird kind of that he chose that. It's like, why would you choose something that triggers your PTSD? But hey, man, you do you, Cropsy,
Hey. As long as we get to see your fucked up freak face.
Right. And so we do, but we don't yet, because Todd then gets there finally, right? After his little traipse through the woods.
Yeah. It's great.
And he's looking around. He's really bad at finding Cropsy once he gets into the building.
Yeah, he keeps. Well, I love stuff like this too at the end when one of the main characters is either going to get killed by the killer or the killer is about to get killed. Todd has moments in this movie of jump scares. The first was the bird flying out of the porta potty, and now it's like super quiet, and the mineshaft cart just goes flying, and then Todd goes flying. He goes flying.
I forgot.
And then he finds the first kill.
Right. Yeah.
Which Cropsy has dragged that body to this weird mine shaft.
Well,
and I was watching it going, what? Why? Why is it there?
yeah, poor fucking Karen. First, she was dating a douchebag, then she gets murdered, and then she gets her body dragged ass through the woods into this multi-purpose ruin. And yeah. But you know, that's kind of a trope. That's almost something that slashers got to do, especially at the end. Because you think about most Jason movies, by the end, the girl is, you know, the final girl, whatever, is like going through. And I think this is really in 6 or 2, one of them. Anyways, they're going through, and like they go through the cabin. Every door they open is one of their dead friends just fucking shoved in there. Like every closet,
which is amazing.
Yeah, I love that, and so I love that that's kind of an accepted part of what, like, the slasher premise is like, yeah, and then at one point they're gonna like spend time to come up with a clever little way for the heroes to find their dead best friends, you know. So
well, now that I think about it, they had asked Eddie where she was, and he said he didn't know, but then they all never went looking for her.
yeah, because they're bad.
Hey, she was just gone.
Yeah, like she's gone.
Oh wait, no, that's not true. They thought she went back to camp.
Oh, right.
They thought
Yeah,
she went back to camp.
Yeah, that's right.
But then when they go, that would have been cool if they would have had a shot of Michelle going back to camp and saying, "Have you seen her?
Yeah, where's Karen?
Did she come back? Yeah, did she come back?"
That's a great idea.
Yeah, they didn't even just stopped caring about her, I guess. Oh well.
Yeah. They're just like, okay, just cross her name off the list on her clipboard. All right. Well, I'll call her parents. So funny. But yeah, but he's in there, and so he gets scared by the minecart thing, and then like there's a part where Cropsy just kind of lets a little burp of flame out at him, and he kind of like backs up and falls over, right?
Yeah. And then we see
a belch. That's what you call it, a belch.
A belch. Yeah. And then we see his face. And it's so good.
Yes, and it's gross. Yeah. Good
Thank
old
you.
Tom Savini.
That's what I was going to say. Thank you, Tom Savini, for your service.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we see Cropsy's face. And then this is the other flashback. Yeah. And this is a twist. The first time you watched it, did you ever put that together, that this guy was one of the kids that pranked him?
No, I did not.
I didn't either. They kind of do a good job of keeping it from you, because, you know, then they show the flashback and they show these kids after they pulled this ridiculous prank and the man's on fire now running through the woods or whatever. They're like, what should we do? And then they start saying each other's names, and you realize like, oh, I didn't see them say their names before.
Yes.
And then one of them's like, what about you, Todd?
When you said that, I went, really? And then I had to go back real quick and look at it again. I went, I completely missed that both times I watched this.
Well, I think it's pretty subtle and well done. I think it was supposed to go over your head. I think I think it worked the way it's supposed to. And I mean, because you think about it, camp counselors they're not that old, so it could only be 6-7 years from that dorky kid growing into this beautiful chesty man. But
and then that makes sense why Todd is at the end. That makes sense that you know.
But it's kind of cool, because I feel like they know that you, the audience, are going to assume he's going to make it to the end anyways, because he's clearly like the leader from the very beginning. You know, they could have messed with you and had him die and have Alfred be the hero, but I think it's cool that here's this guy that you knew that you kind of guessed all the time would be involved in the ending, but here's why. Oh, shit. You know,
shit.
So I like that. Then they have a kind of a little fight, right?
Well, okay. So Todd gets him in the chest with the axe, and then Alfred gets him in the head with the shears. And he's just stuck on that wooden post, which is a cool shot. They pull back, and you see Cropsy with everything sticking out of him. So axe in the head, shears in his back, and then they set his ass on fire again.
Killed him good.
Well, for Todd, that would be twice.
Yeah, he's like, I had to kill this guy twice, so let's fucking do this for real.
We're gonna make sure he's fucking dead.
Yeah. Well, and this is like, what, 1980? So Todd's like, you know what? I saw Halloween and Texas Chainsaw. You got to make sure these guys are dead. All right. So let's fucking get this dude. Yeah, but because they always, I don't want that shot where I turn around and now his body's gone. I don't want that to happen. Okay, I don't want to be going down the road and see him dancing around. Okay, so
well, speaking of never of his body disappearing, the movie ends with another scary story by the campfire with new campers and counselors, and they make a statement of saying they never found his body.
Oh, I think I missed that. Okay.
Which I went, fuck is that? He's basically like Michael Myers. It doesn't matter if you shoot him, stab him, set his ass on fire, put an axe in his fucking brain.
Yeah.
Somehow their body disappears and they never die.
I think the only one where they feel like they actually killed him was Leatherface, because every sequel to the original one is like technically a reboot, saying like none of the other movies happen except the first one. You know, so the very ending then is like on that counselor's face, right? And then it fades to black.
Yeah, and the very end line in this movie, is "Don't move, you're dead."
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool.
And you know the line on the poster. The line on the poster kind of goes along with that. Gather around the campfire and die. I love that.
So if this was going to have a sequel, would it be called Burning Again?
Burnings. I don't know, but that's what I wanted to... let's each answer this question. You go first. What is your sequel to The Burning?
What would be my sequel to The Burning?
Yeah, how do you get into it? What would you have happen?
Well, it would kind of go back to your idea, which I think would have been even cooler, is having a character like Todd. You actually find out that he's been traumatized by what he did to Cropsey, and he's gone insane, and he's actually the one that's killing all the campers. That would be cool.
Yeah, you know what? That's kind of what I wanted to say for the sequels. That's good. So I guess that's the good choice. Yeah, I would start. The second movie starts with
Jason Alexander comes back.
Yeah. But now he's bald from his trauma.
He's the traumatized kid.
Yeah, he's now has his male pattern baldness from the fucking trauma of this experience, even though he's still only 16 or whatever. Anyway, so he's like there. He's like, hey, what's up? It's me, Dave. Oh shit, what happened? And so it's like he's helping Todd up, and like you have this shot where like the camera pans and like now the body of Cropsey's gone. There's the flames, and then it goes back to close up of Todd. Flames reflected in his eyes, and he kind of gets this weird look in his eye. Mm-hmm. And then it's like the burning too, the Toddening or whatever. And and then Todd's fucking crazy. Or you can, but you could even have something happen to him there where his face gets burnt and fucked up. Or maybe, you know what I would do? I would have Todd burn his face on purpose, because he's all fucked up because he did this to this guy. And so he's like, I must punish myself. And so it's almost like a punishment thing.
Oh, that would be great.
But then he also, so then maybe he's going after the families. It'd be cool to like take it out of the camp. So he burns himself, right? Turns himself into this killer guy. And then we're now out of the campfire. He's going around like a suburban neighborhood going after the other guys. Like what you think Cropsey should have done to the first one, he's going to
get the revenge for Cropsey. As atonement.
Yeah.
That would be sick. Great.
Yeah. You know what? They could still do this.
Oh, that's what should be called. The Burning 2, The Atonement.
Ooh.
Or just called Atonement.
Or just do what they do for every horror sequel and go, The Burning 2, Bloodlines. There's like 45 movies with that subtitle. Anyways, but that actor that played Todd is still alive. So you could still be like, 40 years later, it just snaps. Why not? Then then it's a grandpa killing other grandpas. I'm assuming the guy's a grandpa. I don't know. He's probably about that age, you know. So The Burning 2, Grandpa Death Arena.
Yeah, and then it can just keep going, because then those the people that he kills, their kids are going to be traumatized by what happened. So then they just keep it going, and we can have 30. We can have 30 sequels.
You know what, though? I think one big problem is why they probably haven't made sequels to this is even though they've done a lot of revival sequels lately. Well, the guy who conceptualized and wrote this movie is horrible, Harvey Weinstein. So that's probably part of it. So I think you would have to start a sequel maybe with like him. He's like going after his friends, but also just comes upon like a horrible rapist guy and kills him too. But just to,
Yeah, instead of the hooker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Have that reverse too. That's interesting.
Instead of the hooker, he goes to a production office headquarters.
Yeah, like a movie studio.
And kill someone that looks like Harvey Weinstein. That'd be amazing.
Oh, that's a fun idea. Let's make it.
Let's do it.
Zach, if you're listening, that's my only powerful Hollywood friend that I know of, like, that could maybe make it happen. But I'm sure he has an original, interesting idea. But anyways.
Wouldn't that be crazy if someone made a movie about all the different horror characters haunting Harvey Weinstein and killing him? That'd be cool. Or him having to get through a movie trying to escape from all the horror movie characters that he's produced. That'd be kind
of so fucking weird. I love it. In a world where an abuser can get off scot-free. I know he didn't, but it's like he didn't get nearly as punished as he should have. Anyways, and the guy didn't get nearly as punished as he should have this summer. The haunting of Harvey Weinstein. Anyways. Well, that's the burning, man. We did it.
Yay!
We did it. We talked about a movie.
Hey! We did our first episode
of Urn Full of Popcorn. So thank you to anyone besides the two of us that is listening. Wow, well, there it is. There's our first episode of Urn Full of Popcorn. So thanks to everyone who listened all the way, and I hope you enjoyed it. And to start with, we're going to be recording and releasing one every week in October 2024. So we've got another one lined up already for next week from Australia from about 1994. So I think that's right. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, we're really going to try and jump around different time periods in different countries and different kinds of horror movies. So it should be a lot of fun. And I hope you stay with us for the ride and enjoy it. In the meantime, follow us on social media. This is the part where I'm glad Shandy's with me because I don't know how to do this stuff. So Shandy's got us hooked up on social media. Look for us as Urn Full of Popcorn, URNFULLA Popcorn, Urn Full of Popcorn on Instagram and Spotify. You can also look us up personally on places. I am Timmy Williams is Pretty on Instagram and Shandy's Dream Meow Corner. You can also find me on Twitter at Timmy is a Nerd, but mainly just follow Urn Full of Popcorn. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Spotify, and like and comment and subscribe and all that good stuff. And we'll let you know when new ones are dropping. And yes, for the month of October, as we start this thing off, we are going to release a new episode every week, so stay tuned for that. And I want to end with a big thanks to longtime friend Jordan Cooper. Jordan is a musician. He's in New York, and he made the theme for Urn Full of Popcorn. And, you know, we just gave him a few ideas, and then it came back. We were blown away. So, yeah, he wrote that awesome theme. And so shout out to Jordan for that. It is definitely the one thing that makes this show sound professional.